Sifter for the ear.
News, interviews, reviews, cinema, TV, streaming. Action!
Hi, y'all. This is Jerry Williams, aka TV Jerry. I have to say that I'm thankful that this podcast has got over 186 shows already and still going strong. And I'm thankful for all the regular listeners and you new ones.
One thing that Amie and I really focus on is finding positive stories. Like, our show is not doom and gloom. It is all about the best of Richmond and Central Virginia.
That was Melissa Chase talking about how they focus on the positive in the new lifestyle show on WRIC TV called Showcase. It airs weekdays from 3 to 4 p.m. Her co-host is Amie Carter, who was previously at the station and returned for this show. We got lots to talk about in this spirited discussion, so let's go.
Sifter Review of the Week.
Malice on Prime Video. Jack Whitehall is a popular English comedian actor, but this show cast him as the bad guy. He plays a tutor for a wealthy family with a sinister agenda. David Duchovny and Carice Van Houten are cast as the couple who are the brunt of his schemes. As the series progresses, his evil plans become increasingly disastrous. Episode 4 is especially horrifying. Creator James Wood made the weird decision not to allow Whitehall to use any of his comic charms to counter the underlying malevolent side. This would have made him more disarming as the troubles mounted. From the first shot, he glowers with unpleasant demeanor. The big question mark is how this supposedly broke tutor can afford his increasingly elaborate revenge plan. If you're willing to look past the credibility issues, there's an underlying diabolical drama with a European ending, literally and aesthetically. Guess you'll have to watch the show to find out what that means. I gave Malice 3.5 out of 5 stars. So Melissa and Amie, welcome to Sifter for the Ear. Now Melissa, I know you briefly, well obviously from radio forever, but you had a small cameo in my Dirt Woman documentary.
Yes, I had so much fun doing that. Only you would be someone that documents Dirt Woman and the craziness of Richmond and Hamaganza and everything that goes on with it.
Yeah, that was fun. And Amie, there is another Amie Carter who's more famous, but she's President Carter's daughter. I don't think that's you. You're much younger.
I was named after her. My mom named me after Carter's daughter, yes.
Isn't that cool? Wow. But now, is hers spelled A-M-I-E?
No, so hers is the traditional AMY. My mom said she wanted to do something a little funky. So
there you go.
I came up with something different.
That's wonderful. He was one of my favorite presidents. So. All are here obviously to talk about Showcase, the new show. But first I want to find out, how did the idea come about? And how did y'all get involved?
So Showcase actually has a pretty long history at ABC8, the ABC affiliate in Richmond, long before I was on staff there. I want to say it's over 10 years.
Wow.
And it was really to promote local business owners. Chip Tarkenton, who used to do sports at 8 News, I think was the original host. He did it for several years. And then Matt DiNardo, who's our current chief meteorologist, he also hosted Showcase for several years. And then I came on board in 2017. But it was strictly focused on promoting local businesses and services. We would have guests come on the show. Sometimes we would have a few nonprofits if they were sponsored by a business. But it was really to highlight the local businesses that are impacting our community and making a difference. With the expansion of Showcase this year, which is really exciting, we are an hour-long format. So we used to be just a 4.5 sort of infomercial that would run after the morning and afternoon newscast, but now we have our own show. It's lifestyle themed, and we not only promote local businesses, we promote nonprofits, we promote families who are doing cool things, we promote reading with our Great 8 book segment. So it's just so much more that we're able to do to highlight the local people in this area.
Now, Melissa, I want to ask you how you got lured back to Richmond. But first of all, Amie, what's your background? Obviously, you've been at 8 for a while. Should I say 8?
Yeah,
People don't say 8 anymore. Now it's just RIC. But anyway.
Yeah. So basically, I started at Channel 8 back in 2009. And I came on board working on the morning show, Good Morning Richmond. I did that for 6 years and really loved the station, but I felt God kind of calling me to do something different. And so I left to work full-time at my church. In 2015, I started at my church as the executive media director. And so I've been doing that for 10 years. And then about, I want to say a year and a half after I left, management asked me to come back and freelance as the host of Showcase. And I said, sure, it gives me a much more flexible schedule. I'm a wife, mom, so I could definitely balance coming into the station, every so often to record segments. And then when we had new leadership come on board, they were really interested in doing a lifestyle hour-long program. And of course, we knew we would need another host, that's full time since I'm not. And so it kind of expanded into this awesome new platform. And I'm so glad that I get to host with Melissa.
Speaking of segue there, so tell us your story. I mean, you were on the radio here for like 15 decades.
Yeah, I mean, a little less than that, but thank you, Jerry.
A long time. How long was it?
Though truthfully, like really 2 decades. I grew up on the radio here in Richmond. And then right at the edge of the pandemic, I got an opportunity to jump to a major market in Houston and accepted that position. And that was a really hard decision to make to leave Richmond, but it was an incredible job opportunity. And so I was on air and programming. I got all the way up to vice president of programming for all of our Odyssey stations in Houston. We really enjoyed that experience there. But my husband and I, for us, Richmond is home. Our families here, our parents are here, our friends are here. And so we had been talking about the potential opportunity on how we could get back. So I sort of Hail Mary emailed the director of the show and the market manager. And I was like, I don't know if y'all would be interested in a conversation. And what was supposed to be a 15-minute chat turned into like an hour-and-a-half conversation about all the things we could do. So it turned out to be a really perfect opportunity to get back home.
Well, welcome back. And
thank you.
Surprise guest drop in.
Speaking of welcoming back, somebody has dropped in. Amie, you won't know this person, but Melissa, you definitely will.
All right.
Kyle Christian.
Look who it is.
What are you doing?
Footnote.
Kyle Christians is a longtime friend and coworker of Melissa Chase. He worked with her for over a decade in the radio industry and now lives in St. Louis, Missouri. Kyle, why don't you tell everybody how you know Melissa? And I guess you don't know Amie at all, do you?
Amie, I do not believe I have met you. Melissa, I do believe I have known you for like 25 years. So
yes, we were
since we were
radio
kids,
people. Yes. Oh my gosh. Hi.
Surprise. So I first met Melissa way back in the radio days. This is probably 2002, I guess. We worked at the same radio company. So anything from on air to promotions to a lot of other stuff. There were several Hamaganza concerts involved as well.
Yeah.
Footnote.
Hamaganza was a charity holiday rock and roll event that raised money for a food bank, and people could bring a canned ham or money for admission. Dirt Woman often played host or hostess, and it ran for more than 20 years until the last one in 2017.
So I've been able to see, how I was impressed with her the second that I saw her she's incredibly great at what she does. As we've both gotten older and more seasoned, it's great to keep up with her and see how her family's growing, see how she's growing personally.
Now, great. I want to ask you some questions about some secrets about Melissa.
Oh, gosh.
Oh, man. Okay.
No one
Amie,
said
I'm game for this.
Part of it.
I want to hear this.
Yeah, but Amie, I wanted to ask you, did you ever get to go to a Hamaganza?
No.
Okay, that's another whole podcast, so we won't even go there.
For sure, yes. The best story about Hamaganza was I constantly had her phone number ready to text to go and get me another beer.
That's true.
And
That's true.
that was possibly the best thing that's ever happened. So
Kyle would be holding his bass, he'd be playing an instrument, and there would be a break. They finished practicing, and I would get a text, and I'm thinking it's something very important. And no, it was Kyle from across the room asking me to grab him another beer.
I mean, that was pretty important, though. So
yeah, you got to have priorities there.
There's no real telling stories aside from the usual radio hijinks that went on, which wasn't much.
Spill the beans.
Exactly. Come on.
There are beans to spill, but we won't spill them today because we all love our jobs.
That's right,
was a time before social media, so we got away with our shenanigans.
Yeah, that's true. That's very
a good
true.
point. Yeah, you're right. Kyle, you have anything else you want to add?
Just that I was really touched to be invited to this. Life has taken us from Virginia to Texas to Missouri, back to Virginia. I'm just incredibly happy that we still remain friends and pretty close. So
likewise.
So it's great to see you. Yep.
It's so good to see you, friends.
Yep.
Well, thanks so much for dropping in.
Absolutely. Yeah. Happy to be a part of it. Thanks, you guys. Amie, nice to meet you. Thanks,
you.
Jerry.
Now, you mentioned you're both moms and you have busy schedules. You have kind of an interesting, because it's not like some of the shows, like the morning show you used to, where you got to be live in the studio every day. You have some flexibility. How does that work? And when are you shooting? And when are you on location? When are you in the studio?
So Melissa and I shoot a lot of the intros and chat breaks for the show on Monday and Wednesday mornings. So that's when I'm there at the station. Also when, we'll do interviews if we have guests that come to the station to be interviewed. And then Melissa, this is her full-time job. So she's available to go out on location and talk to people in their own environment, which is always very exciting. And so she gets to go to a lot of fun and cool places to interview some of our guests.
It is all the time, Jerry. Like, we don't get to choose when things happen sometimes, like to be able to catch people in their natural environment. So for example, this week we just wrapped up a great interview with a group called Miracles in Motion. It's a dance studio that supports kids with Down syndrome and other disabilities. Right. And so they're not available at the beginning of the day. If we really want to be there, we want to be when their class is, which happens to be in the evening. And there's a lot of evening events that we go to. So it's a little bit all over the place. But I think that why our show is unique in being able to be on in the afternoon and record so many segments is we're able to be at all of these things. We couldn't do that otherwise. And, a lot of the business owners that we work with on our show to promote the great things that they're doing, they're business owners. They're so busy. And to be able to allow them the freedom of being able to be more flexible with their time on when they can come in, I think is a really great relationship that we have with them.
Now that brings up an interesting point, because my next question, and kind of answers it, every station has a daily show of some sort, and most of them are studio bound. So address what are the differences, other than one you just obviously said, is the fact that you're not always in the studio. You can go out and shoot stuff. Are there other things that y'all do that you think are different?
We also do a lot of, we call them feature stories or special stories on people that have made a huge impact on the community, or maybe they've overcome a disease or, some type of challenge. We've done stories on local authors, the books that they're, writing and how that's making a difference in their local community. So we are able to kind of profile some really cool people.
But we also were able to get a little bit more hands-on because we're not always confined to the studio. We have a fabulous 9 a.m. show that does a lot of those great pieces in the studio. But additionally, we can go out. So we can strap on roller skates and go skating at the rink with the people from the roller derby. Right, and we can go to a glass studio and blow glass with Grant Garmese. So it gives us the opportunity to be in that environment and be super hands-on. And that's something you can't do in a studio space, but we have the luxury of being able to do in the way that we film.
The show is mid-afternoon, which is an interesting time because it's not morning, not evening. Why was it mid-afternoon? Or why is it mid-afternoon?
I think mid-afternoon is a really great spot. I mean, Amy's a mom as well as myself. And that mid-afternoon time period is when you're trying to get everything together, and you're kind of ending your workday in some ways. You're getting dinner together if that's something that's for you. You're trying to make sure that schoolwork is done, food is on the table, you've got everything ready. God forbid it's a spirit week at school and you've got to find costumes and everything. And so that time period is really a great way where I think sometimes people want to have company in the room with them to just kind of settle them back out as they decompress. And, we're able to get them caught up on exciting events that's going on, things that they don't want to miss that are coming up, to hear just really positive stories. Like, one thing that Amie and I really focus on is finding positive stories. Like, our show is not doom and gloom. It is all about the best of Richmond and Central Virginia, people who are making a difference, kids that are having cookie sales to benefit cancer programs, food banks that are doing things. Like, there's just so much good in Richmond. And I think a lot of people feel sometimes it's hard to watch the news with their kids there. Like, they watch it because they need those stories. But it's nice to get good new news that's positive. And that's kind of where our show comes into play, where it's the end of the school day and they can feel comfortable leaving that on in the background because we're promoting really great things happening.
Yeah. And I can share, that's part of the reason why I left the news side of the business, is because it was a lot of doom and gloom. It was just negative stories. And I just felt like I got to do more with the gifts I have in media. And so I'm thankful that this opportunity is here where we can promote all of the positive things that are happening in our local area.
You mentioned you've got the morning show, and of course, sometimes even the evening news has features. Do y'all ever get into battles over, okay, we want this story, no, they want this story? Or do you...
No, we are actually the opposite.
We do.
We really don't. We work together on different things and we support each other in doing pieces together. Like Deanna Albritton, who is part of our evening news, she has come out to events that we've done. She actually just wrapped a great piece that's going to be on Showcase with Alicia Keys while she was in town. And so we try to be each other's cheerleaders whenever we're doing events that can help news, and vice versa. We do that. So So I host and judge a lot of nonprofit events here. So they'll say, yeah, like, can you record this and we'll put it on the news? And likewise, when we have someone from our news team like Eric Phillips in Deanna, we're out there doing the Alzheimer's walk. We were able to get them on Showcase to talk about what they were doing. So we're a family. We want to cross promote each other. And I think everyone from news wants to continue to have as many positive stories as they can, but they can't always do that because they have so many serious, news
Sure.
stories that they
Yeah,
have to get
yeah.
to. So I think that we've become an outlet for that opportunity where if they do have something that they want to promote, they can come to us and we can do that collaboratively.
Everybody's got everything streaming now on the internet, clips and that sort of thing. How much of that do you see, or do you even know how much of that is happening versus people watching it live on the air anymore?
We're getting very good numbers for on the air. We got our ratings in and we're actually performing very, very well. So we're excited for a new
Great.
show without a lot of marketing behind it yet.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
you.
Thank you. But we do get a lot of people that are finding us online. We've had different celebrities on. Amie interviewed Crowder yesterday, who's a massive Christian artist who's coming here for a sold out show. And we've had Dustin Lynch and some other artists on. And so when we collaborate on posts, we tend to get a new audience in. And the audience that has found us is very interesting because they're really interactive. So it's like a community that's small and growing. And I anticipate that over the next few months and years, that will grow even larger. But we have had people that have contacted us and said, I want to be on your internet show. And I'm like, it's also a TV show,
Yeah.
but it's interesting just to see the way that people find you. But it is all part of the Showcase and 8 News and ABC 8 ecosystem altogether.
And what's the most interesting or unusual story you've had so far?
Oh, wow.
I think that there's just been some really beautiful stories. Like I really liked having Dr. Bob Archuleta on to share about the story he wrote about his daughter called Christine Smile. And that was a really cool one because it was someone who is a really positive member of our community that continues to give back in a new way to the communities. I'm also very partial to anything that involves an animal. So the Cat Cafe filming was one of the, basically you will find us, Jerry, any opportunity to have an animal on the show. We're like, yes, we will
Yes.
absolutely do your story.
And I love being able to promote a lot of the nonprofits that are smaller that maybe don't get as much exposure as they should or could. Maybe they don't have the budget for it. I know we promoted an organization called Rise Up Resources, and they are focused on helping people dealing with what's called furniture poverty. So maybe you have a home, but maybe you don't have enough funds to actually put furniture in the home. So they're a resource and people can reach out and they'll provide beds and dressers and living room furniture. So I think that's awesome. And then there's also a local-based nonprofit called World Pediatrics. They basically provide life-saving surgery for children, not only in the local area, but in the Caribbean and other parts of the world. And a lot of people don't know that they're based right here in Richmond.
Yeah.
And they work with a lot of the amazing doctors and surgeons at VCU, so it's like we're able to spotlight a lot of groups, a lot of organizations that probably don't always get an opportunity to, be featured. And I love that.
Right. So, Melissa, I have to ask you this. I have this note, Milo Murphy's Law on Disney. What is that?
Footnote.
Milo Murphy's Law was an animated comedy series that ran on the Disney Channel from 2016 to 2019. The character, Melissa Chase, was the best friend of Milo. And I'll pose a picture of her on the webpage for this show at TV Jerry.
Sabrina Carpenter is the voice of it. And so we kind of shared that in common. But it's funny when you look at the pictures of her because she's got a little bit of ginger hair and a very spicy attitude. And I'm like, I'm not saying that they based it off of me, but if they did, I'm happy they chose Sabrina Carpenter to be her voice.
Oh, there you go. Okay. Yeah, I was wondering where that Melissa, because obviously when you're IMDb, that comes up too. So you're like,
I know.
"Oh."
And Disney, you're welcome for not me going after you because I do own the trademark to the name Melissa Chase.
Well, there you go. So let's go behind the scenes a little bit. And what's involved in putting the show together every day?
Lots of Red Bull, I'll tell you that. No,
Lots of
I'm just
wardrobe
kidding.
changes.
Yes, Amie, that is such a huge thing that I don't think people realize.
Yes.
You've done this for a long time on the TV side. So you are, I think, a lot more accustomed to not only how to dress for television, but even the little things about certain necklaces will hit your lavalier mic or
Right.
certain collars will be too soft and floppy to be able to hold it there. Colors don't translate the exact same. I looked like the biggest hot mess the first 2 weeks of the show because I didn't understand that having cool lighting was so different from the warm lighting that most of us are used to in everyday life. So when I did my makeup, I looked sunburned like the whole first 2 weeks because I didn't understand that like color theory really changes when you're in a studio.
Right.
The little nuances of getting all your clothes together, or, you know, if I'm going to be sitting on the ground talking to kids for an interview, or Amy, I don't know if you do this, but I try to like match the color of the organization I'm talking to when possible.
Yeah.
So like if we go to the American Heart Association, I'll try to wear red because I know that the background around them is red and I'm trying to promote their stuff. So it's like these tiny little things, but they do take up a lot of energy when it comes to like the behind the scenes of what we do.
Do you get an allowance for wardrobe?
No, but I feel like if you want to have that
I was
conversation
gonna say,
with
talk
our
to our general
bosses,
manager.
that would be great.
And a lot of people will assume that, oh, you're on TV, so someone's doing your hair, someone's
Yes,
doing your makeup,
they
someone's doing
always
your
think
dress.
that.
Not in this
No,
market.
not at all. Not in this market. We
Not
do
in
it
most
in-house.
markets. Truthfully, you know, even like coming from like Houston and the major markets, a lot of them don't have that. Like I have friends that will put into their contract to be able to have like a rent the runway contract to get clothes borrowed and
Right,
things
right.
like that. Because unless you're in like the 1% of the top major markets, like a Good Morning America, like team, you are your own team. So
Exactly.
you got to get that together.
And y'all do have to, I guess y'all do have to coordinate. Well, if you're on the air at the same time, you got to coordinate, make sure you're not both wearing pink or
Well,
purple.
sometimes it happens naturally that our clothes complement each other. I feel like the more, you know, we're together, I
Yes.
think it just happens.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, Amy, take us behind the scene from your point of view. What do you see with Melissa running around trying to get it all produced and everything else?
I mean, it's a lot of writing, you know, so we're helping our producer with, you know, writing those interview intros, coming up with questions, coming up with interesting chat breaks that we can talk about, you know, amongst ourselves. It's a lot of editing. So once the interview airs on TV, we're also taking that clip and trying to trim it down for social media. So we're giving people, you know, bite-sized content.
And the research, right?
Yes,
Like that's
too.
the other thing too. Like when we have people come on our show, whether it's a local business and we're going to be talking about their business stuff, or if it's a nonprofit, we need to know what we're talking about for asking them questions. You know, it's funny because sometimes it's businesses that we're not as familiar with. We have a fabulous financial client that was on the other day. And while I was excited to have him in, I was like, well, I need to just double check I understand all the verbiage correctly with the Roth IRAs and 401ks and all that.
Right.
I don't need to be an expert. He's coming in to be the expert, but I can't be a great interviewer to make him look his best
Sure.
if I don't know what I'm talking about. So a lot of what we do is that research piece as well.
Very true. And then just the scheduling piece, you know, reaching out to organizations, they're emailing you back. Can you come in on this day? Can you bring this person with you? You know,
Tell me about it. Look at how long it took us to get this show scheduled, right?
Exactly.
So, one question I always like to ask everybody when you're not working like crazy on Showcase, what are you watching? And it doesn't necessarily have to be an ABC show. Something streaming, a movie you've seen, anything lately that you think is kind of fun or hot or enjoyable.
I honestly do not watch a lot of television.
Oh, really?
I don't, but it's just the nature of the season that I'm in. I have, you know, my husband, I have 3 kids under the age of 10.
Oh, my goodness.
I'm also caregiving for my mother, and I also work, you know, full time at my church. So I just don't have a lot of time. I will say that my husband and I will have date nights every now and then. Well, we'll just find something on television, a movie, you know, to watch from home, or we may get a chance if we get a babysitter to go to the movies. I think the last series that I really got into like hardcore was probably Chosen.
Oh, wow. A while ago.
I was gonna say, yeah, that's not an everyday thing.
Melissa?
I do love the TV show High Potential. I'm very into that right now because I like
Okay.
comedy. And this sounds snobby, but I'm more of a book person. I got my first Kindle a year ago and I swore I would never own an electronic book because it felt gross to me. But then my nephew told me about the Libby app, which promotes your public libraries because it's borrowing books from the library.
Right.
And so I'm really more of a book addict if we're being serious.
good.
And they're not educational books. They're like
Trashy.
they're trashy beach reads and romantasy and books that add no value to my brain. But I think that, you know,
And they'll all be movies on Netflix in about a year.
I think some of them that I read could not be movies on Netflix.
That's scandalous.
Some of them have a little spice to them. But I think that the goal of watching or reading sometimes is for some of us, it's just to shut off our brain because especially if you're creative, your brain goes so fast all the time. And if you don't press pause on it, you don't get to like breathe. And I think that that's important to reset your creativity and do that. And you're a creative person, Jerry. So like you understand that, like if you just let your brain go, it'll just keep coming up with ideas and Sometimes you need to go to bed and just have a blank slate and start again. The one book that I would recommend for anyone who's creative is called The Creative Act by Rick Rubin. It is the greatest book I have ever read in my entire life. And I've recommended it to 500 people and had people recommend it back to me who were people that I told about the book in the first place. It is truly just a magnificent read because everyone is a creative and it's about teaching you how to harness that energy and use it in like a positive way and to be true to yourself in the way you do it. It's such a fantastic book.
That's the famous Rick Rubin, the producer, right?
Yes. And if you listen to the audio version, he reads it himself and you feel like you're in a one-on-one coaching session, which is what I pretend when I'm listening.
Cool. Great. Well, Amie, it's great to meet you. Melissa, it's great to see you. It's been a while.
Thank you. Yes, likewise. Thank you for the opportunity to be on your podcast. We're so excited.
Yeah, this is so awesome. We appreciate it, Jerry.
Thank you very much. That was Melissa Chase and Amie Carter, the co-host of WRIC's new lifestyle program, Showcase. It airs weekdays from 3 to 4 p.m., and I'll have a link on the webpage for this show at tvjerry.com.
Coming soon. In theaters.
Zootopia 2. This animated sequel from Disney has the rabbit and her friends cracking a new case. Eternity. A woman, Elizabeth Olsen, arrives in the afterlife, where she has to decide whether she wants to spend eternity with the man she spent her life with, Miles Teller, or her first love who died young and has waited decades for her, Callum Turner. Wake Up, Dead Man, a Knives Out mystery. The next case in the series has Daniel Craig returning as the Southern Sleuth and was directed by Ryan Johnson. The new cast includes Glenn Close, Josh O'Connor, and Jeremy Renner.
TV and streaming.
A Paw Patrol Christmas on CBS and Paramount Plus. When Santa comes down with a sickness, Rubble steps up to rescue the holiday spirit while racing against Mayor Humdinger's plan to swipe everyone's gifts. The Stringer, the man who took the photo on Netflix. A photo editor's 52-year-old secret sparks a 2-year investigation into one of the Vietnam War's most famous images. It's Florida Man on HBO. This series brings to life unbelievable tales from the state, featuring interviews with locals and comedic reenactions starring a rotating cast of actors and comedians. Words and Music on MGM Plus. Musicians take the stage in an intimate setting to perform their hits and reveal the untold stories that inspired their most memorable songs, including Alanis Morissette, Sheryl Crow, and Elvis Costello. And the big one, Stranger Things returns to Netflix with part 1 of the 5th and final season. You know, you can subscribe to this podcast on the usual platforms or go to TV Jerry, click on the podcast tab, and there's a link to enroll. Next week, we meet the man behind a documentary that's going to be playing at the Virginia State Library. It's called Castle Rock Home, about a now extinct community in the Appalachian Mountains of Virginia. This is Jerry Williams. Thanks for listening.
For more Sifter, including literally thousands of reviews,
visit tvjerry.com.
That's a wrap.